welcome to the community briefing. Today is the 19th of September, 2024. My name is Gregory Sneed, and I'm owner and CEO of Lifesaver Financial Services. My pleasure to welcome you today. And now we're going to expedite our introductions and get over to the queen of our community briefing, Ms. Crystal Mitchell.
Welcome, 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 everyone. Actually, I'll be back to being the queen of the Nile next month. I'm leaving for Egypt next month. So welcome, everyone, to the community briefing. I am the co-director of Recycling Black Dollars, as well as a business coach and consultant, have my own practice. This platform was created an inspiration of mine during the pandemic to make sure that we knew who our stakeholders are, where all the money was, and how did we get to them, because we had them right here to put them on the spot to get that information. And it evolved into this incredible information platform. So this is our platform, our networking platform, to meet those individuals that are sitting at tables where decisions are being made on behalf of our community. And so this is, you get to have conversation with them and hopefully you connect with them. But it's also a platform where you guys can network with each other so that we can support each other's business. Each one support one is, I guess, the way we should be doing this. And so we have a fabulous team here. Mr. Greg Sneed, you've already met him. Ms. Robin Billups, who will introduce herself in a second. And Mr. Stephen Turner, who is our producer. And without him, my goodness, I don't know how you guys would get here. So welcome, and to all of our returning visitors that are here every month, every week. We are a weekly show. And so thank you with that. And I'm going to kick it over to Ms. Robin. I'm sure she's going to remind you to vote in November.
And as she just took my script. Good morning, everybody. Robin Billups with the Billups Group. I am a coach and a thought leader around construction financing and supply chain inclusion. I don't call it supplier diversity. I'm excited about our speaker today because she's not scared. She will fight for the community. I've heard her speak before, so I'm looking forward to that. But we have less than 50 days, I think, before the election. So everybody needs to get registered. You can actually register on the day of voting, but let's try to register. Let's try to vote as early as possible. And I'm going to kick it back to Greg so we can get our program started.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you. State Treasurer Fiona Ma, we know you're on a tight schedule, so I'm going to race through your bio so folks know who you are very quickly. Fiona Ma is the California's 34th state treasurer. She was elected back in November of 2018. She's the first woman of color and first woman certified public accountant elected to the position. It's amazing, huh? The first treasurer that was a CPA. California is the world's 5th largest economy, and she is the state's primary banker. Our office processes more than $3 trillion, and that might be an old number. I'm sure it's gone up now. That was from 2 years ago. And oversees the investment portfolio of $124 billion, and approximately $35 billion of that is local government funds. Before being elected treasurer, she was the member of the California Board of Equalization from 2015 to 2019. She was also a member of the State Assembly from 2006 to 2012, serving as Speaker pro tem from 2010 to 2012. And she was also, at the time, Assembly Majority Whip. 2002 to 2006, she served the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. She also became involved in public service in 1994 when she was elected president of the Asian Business Association. In 95, she was appointed to the Assessment Appeals Board of San Francisco by the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. And from 1989 to 93, she worked for Ernst & Whinney, which was one of the big 8 firms back in the day. I worked with Coopers & Lybrand, which is one of the big 8, then merged with Price Waterhouse, and then Ernst & Whinney eventually merged with Arthur Young & Company. So she has a bachelor's degree in accounting from Rochester Institute of Technology. Oh, RIT in New York. I know where that is. I almost went there. A master's degree in taxation from Golden Gate University in San Francisco, and an MBA from Pepperdine University. I have no idea where she grew up, where she's from, so she'll share that with us. Please join me and welcome me to the virtual stage, California State Treasurer Fiona Ma.
Thank you. Thank you, Greg and Crystal and Robin. So before I get into a little bit about who I am, where I'm from, I just want to add something to what Robin said. We have 47 days until Election Day. In California, we are all mail-in ballots now. So don't wait to get a notice that you're going to be voting in somebody's garage. That system is no longer in place post-COVID. So everyone will get a ballot. Do not throw it out. Ballot should drop the week of October 7th. And that's a long time from October 7th to November 5th for some people. And then someone comes and cleans out all the mail. They lost their ballot. So as soon as you see the ballot, put it away if you're not going to vote right away. And make sure you sign the back of your ballot. Sometimes when people say, oh, sign, they just put a dash or they don't even sign the back, and that will nullify your ballot. Then you can also check with the Secretary of State to make sure that they got your ballot and your vote is counted. So there could be multiple steps. If you're kind of like me, I want to make sure, I never miss a vote, but that is the new process. Oh, and the state of California will pay for the postage for the ballot. So there's really no excuse for people not to vote anymore. Okay, so going back to Greg's question, I was born and raised in New York. Born at the New York Infirmary, spent the first 4 years living with my grandparents in Chinatown while my parents worked in the nearby city of Yonkers. They saved enough money, plus a little loan from my grandparents, and they were able to buy our first house in Great Neck, Long Island. And so that's where I went to kindergarten, junior high, and high school. My parents identified early on that I was good at math, and so I should be an accountant. And so that's how I chose RIT, Greg, because there is this PA track plus 2 mandatory paid co-op. And so all the companies come on campus, and I decided to go with Ernst & Whinney in the Trust and Estate Department in the New York City office. I was really excited because they offered me a job after, but by this time, my parents decided to move to San Francisco. So I had to start all over again, decided to stay with Ernst & Whinney in the real estate tax group. So that is my background. Then, as you mentioned, I became the president of the Asian Business Association back in 1994. And my job was to secure more contracting opportunities for MWBE businesses at the federal, state, local, and even the private sectors. So my background is really through the pre-Prop 209 era, working with women and minority small businesses. And still, that's something that I am still very active today. I see Michael Banner on the call. And so we are kind of crisscrossing around the state. I spoke yesterday at the California Black Chamber of Commerce on affordable housing and how to access more capital and, keep some of the money in the local communities of people that look like you and me. And then started my first job. I got a part-time job with Senator John Burton, and he is my mentor for 7.5 years before I felt like I was ready to run for office, which I did on the San Francisco Board of Supervisors in 2002. San Francisco is the only city and county in the state. There's 11 members. And when I got elected, I ran in the Chinese seats in the Sunset District. Back then, I was the only Chinese Asian elected and only the second woman on that board. Another one of my famous colleagues is our governor, Gavin Newsom. And then after that, served in the Assembly, State Board of Equalization, treasurer. So I've been around. This is my passion and my calling. Going to be running for lieutenant governor in 2026 to focus on more education. Lieutenant governor sits on the UC, CSU, and community college boards, the Coastal Commission, and the state lands, and also chairs the California Economic Development Council. So I will continue to be advocating on all the issues, but thank you. During the pandemic, I also did a whole bunch of webinars trying to prepare the community about all the free money that was coming from the federal government. We received $28 billion. Most of it has gone out already in grants, but we still have more money and more programs that are still rolling out. And then we could talk SBCI program. That's something that Michael Banner is very active, advocating, interested in. But I know that my deputy, Kaim Morton, is also on this call I'm going to have him chime in at some point and talk more about that program, since he is the deputy that oversees that that small business program.
Any leftovers of that 28 billion?
There is still money, and if you follow me on social media, I'm rolling it out as soon as I know the program is being created. To stay tuned, where people can sign up for more notices, information, etc.
Perfect.
So, if you could share with us some of the key things, and I think we had put together some questions. But right now, I guess the top question is, where is the from a financial standpoint, where is the state of California now? We always hear different stories, and what do you see on the horizon over the next, let's say, 2 to 3 year period?
Yeah, I mean, during COVID, I think we were all kind of concerned, didn't know really what was going to happen. My office, I'm the banker. So if my office does not open, everything pretty much stops in California. So I had about 100 people that continue to go in every day and handle all the banking transactions. And I was pretty surprised that after the first year of COVID, we had a $46 billion surplus. Then the second year of COVID, we had a $96 billion surplus. And these are record surpluses that the state has never had. And what the governor did is he kind of asked all 120 members kind of what their wish list is. Are there any infrastructure projects that are really hard to fund that you've been waiting for? And so he would, give out the money, and many of the projects are being built today. I was just at the Sierra Madre Library groundbreaking, where they got $10 million from their assembly member, Chris Holden. And libraries and pools, some of these amazing community gems are so important, but really, really hard to fund. So I was very happy that, some of the money did go to the new Sierra Madre Library. And then now we are facing a deficit of about $46 billion. However, we have about $36 billion sitting in a rainy day fund. I think we have 4 rainy day funds. So the governor is proposing to close that shortfall using about $12 billion from the rainy day funds, and the rest are deferrals, deferrals, pushing things into the next fiscal year. And hopefully by 2026, we should start being in a better surplus position. The Fed's lowering the interest rates today are getting people excited. I know people are getting calls from their real estate, their realtors saying, hey, the rates have dropped. What do you think? Is now the time? So I think a lot of investments are going to start coming back into the market, which would help our economy. There's going to be a new Brightline train, all private, all electric train being built from Rancho Cucamonga to Las Vegas. That's going to be hundreds of thousands of construction jobs in addition to the jobs that are out there in the Central Valley for our California high-speed rail. And so there's going to be a lot of activity happening, and that's what we really need. We need people to come back to California. We need tourists. We need filming. We need more businesses to invest and people to come back to work, because that is also impacting our small businesses around our city centers.
It's funny, good you mentioned that, because the next question we had is that what can the state of California do to help boost the labor market here? Seems to be lagging behind, the national average. Companies have been leaving the state of California and moving to other states, going to Texas and what have you. So share with us some ideas and where we think things are happening from the labor market, wages, taxes on tips, that kind of stuff.
We hear that companies are moving to Texas. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're
Can you hear me, Greg?
now we can hear you. Yeah, it broke up a minute. Yeah, but
okay.
You're back.
Okay, so sorry, I'm probably driving up the 5. Anyway, okay, so a lot of people say, what are we going to do? Companies are moving to Texas. Okay, now for those of you who have young people in your family, or you're working with them. These young people are not going to move to a state that they do not feel is friendly to them, that they have rights. They don't like the weather. They may not like, they like to have their foodies. And so the young people are not actually going these other states, even though these companies are moving to try to save money on their income taxes or payroll taxes. But it will happen because that's what, companies do. And so we need to do a better job of attracting and keeping those companies that want to stay here, but for regulations, taxes, and the high cost of living. So one of the things that is a priority for this governor and my office is building more affordable housing, workforce housing, all sorts of housing, ADUs in people's backyards. I mean, we just need more supply if we are going to continue to grow our economy, especially with good paying jobs. California is the only state that has passed $6 billion in stem cell research bonds. That means all the best and the brightest doctors and scientists want to come to California, but where are they going to live, right? Our UCs, CSUs, all of our universities, they're bursting at the seams. But if we don't have dorm rooms, we don't have places for them to live, they are living in their cars, right? Couch surfing, which is what's happening at many of our community colleges. Then we had a strike. We had an actors and a writer strike for 6 months. And you can't just turn on the spigot for these big productions because it takes years to plan. So once they decide they're not filming in California, they're not going to come back, just because we resolved our issues. And so we have to do a little bit more, create more incentives to compete with some of these states and countries that are attracting, filming. So, infrastructure, high-speed rail, Bright Line. Barstow is also planning to build an inland port. BNSF, the railroad company, bought 4,000 acres in Barstow so that goods will come off the ship directly onto their trains, shipped out to Barstow, where all the boxes, containers will be opened, redistributed, and then shipped out from there. That's going to create hundreds of thousands of jobs. However, we need to build more housing. And one of the big issues is infrastructure. Before, the cities and counties used to pay for infrastructure for housing, and now they do not. And they want to put that burden on the developers. And in some regions, you have to pencil. You have to be able to sell a house that the people can afford. And if you're going to add infrastructure, the roads, the bridges, the cables, there's hundreds of thousands of permitted lots that are ready to go, but for infrastructure, and we need to do something about that. And I've been trying to create a infrastructure revolving loan fund. I know many people are lobbying Congress to see whether we can get more help, so we can build more housing more quickly, more efficiently.
And someone had a quick question here. Is there a plan really to help build more single family homes? There's a lot of multiple dwellings that are going up. I guess the economy of scale for the land size. But is that a focus, from a Treasury standpoint?
Well, not necessarily, because our tax credit and bonds goes to multi-units around the state, multi-unit family, disabled, veterans, homeless, formerly homeless individuals. But the state of California, because of our surpluses, did allocate 2 rounds of free down payment assistance for first-time homebuyers. So the first year, it was first-time homebuyers, and the money flew out the door. The second round right now is to first-time homebuyers whose parents do not own a home, because that's how you develop, generate generational wealth, is usually you pass down a house, have some equity in it to the next generation. So if your parents don't have a house, there's nothing really to pass down. So that was this last round, which also was oversubscribed, did really well. And I hope once we have more money, we will be able to replenish that account. And then California also passed laws making it legal for people to build an ADU, accessory dwelling unit, either in their backyard, or you can attach it. That's called a junior ADU, using your garage or your basement or your sub-basement to create housing. And so that also presumably will also create more living units for people, and especially affordable, either for family members, caregivers, students that are looking, for some affordable option.
Thank you. Robin, you have a quick question?
Yeah, I have a quick question. We are working on a project right now that's a master plan solution to infrastructure, transit, and ownership housing. And when I hear a lot, I have a background in financing commercial real estate, especially affordable housing. But at the end of the day, what are we doing about housing preservation? And the solution is literally taking that development cost, taking the cost of infrastructure out of the development and utilizing infrastructure dollars. I sent a note to your deputy, and I'll follow up with him. But I really appreciate the fact that you have a finance background. You've been actively engaged at the table with these transactions, and so it's a lot easier to speak with you about what we see as the hindrances. And so the idea that certainly we need affordable housing, we need a multifamily units, but an ADU is only housing one person. So if we start looking at other ways to build out these existing homes, one, they need to be refurbished, but two, we can add some units to those sites. And manufactured housing would be one of the ways. And so again, I thank you for your leadership is really what I want to say. And then I'm going to follow up with Mr. Morton about this development that I'm talking about.
Okay, great. Yeah, we're always looking for new models. There's like rent to own models. And, someone just asked me, well, why can't people own their apartments? And I said, well, we used to have that, right? Co-ops, where people would, share in the ownership as well as tenancy in common, besides condos. So people are thinking about how to, create some sort of equity instead of just paying rent to someone.
We were talking about this before we got on this morning that, these multifamily units that they're building, we talked about the fact that the young people are not going to be driving cars, but, we got to get this infrastructure and transit up to speed to catch up with the development that's going on with these multifamily units. What's your take on that?
Yeah, so it is very competitive, these tax credit and bonds, and to the extent that these projects are closer to transit, like real transit, schools, grocery stores, right? Things that, make for healthy communities, then they score better in the competition. So that's kind of the incentive for these developers to develop closer to real transit-oriented development, or figure out how to create that transit-oriented development. Because you're right, more and more people don't want to own a car. It's expensive. In San Francisco, you have to move it all the time for street cleaning. We have a lot of break-ins. I mean, it's just, yeah, it's getting to be more and more costly.
Has it been your experience that when these funds are allocated, that monies don't get spent in certain neighborhoods, and then the time expires on when the money has to be dispersed?
We haven't found that there's like an expiration. There's always, I think, oversubscription. The problem is who knows about it, right? Who are the most sophisticated people? Who is getting the information? Who is, watching the news, or, getting a newsletter, or working with an association that's spreading the word saying, hey, this money is coming for, solar or EV charging stations, or, grants for nonprofits, that kind of thing. So it is so important, especially now post-COVID, like all of you started this during COVID. I went to an ethnic media event in Sacramento, and I was so surprised how many people were in there. And many of them are like you got together because you have information you want to share, you have expertise, but not everybody is looking at 3 TV stations and 3 newspapers anymore. And so it's hard to get this information out because everybody is looking and getting their information from different sources.
Yeah, I attended the National ACE conference. It was a lovely conference and great panel, great speakers. One of the conversations that was pretty heavy is the whole AI piece and how it's job replacement and that type of thing like that. What can you give us a little bit of feedback on your take on the AI and how that's going to affect how you work every day?
Yeah, I mean, I embrace technology, especially if it can make me more efficient and effective. And I really like AI. I'm either on, ChatGPT or Perplexity.ai. Perplexity actually references real sources, whereas ChatGPT if they're getting information from all sorts of data points. Some may or may not be real. And so, but I use both of them to improve my social media texts. If I'm sending, text messages or writing letters, I run it through the chat GPT, and it kind of trains itself on how you speak. Right. And so someone may say, hey, can you improve this quote? And I'm like, that doesn't sound like me. I run it through chat GPT, and then, boom, in a second, it sounds like me. So, if you're using it as a tool to save time, obviously improve your communication skills, I think it's great. I think what we're all scared about is those deep fakes, right? People using your face or your voice and then creating fake, social media posts or pictures with people.
State Treasurer Ma, do a time check. How are we looking? We have more questions, but we want to be sensitive to your timing. I know you have your deputy here, so do we have a few more minutes or?
Yeah.
Great. So one of the challenges we have is that we hear about the state being, in financial trouble, but then our taxes are like super high. One of the questions is, will we ever see any relief on the excessive state taxes on gasoline? We tend to pay on average $1 more per gallon than the rest of the country.
Yeah, I mean, I have found being in government, once you create a tax, very, very hard to change the tax, right? And Jerry Brown put a tax initiative, a temporary tax initiative on the ballot, which the voters did support. But, I think we had an opportunity during the COVID years, those big surpluses, to do something to reduce the taxes so that people don't say California has the highest this, highest that, highest this. But we also have the best state, the most diverse state, people who want to continue to come here and invest and open up businesses. People love the weather, right? That they want to come to school here. So we have so many advantages, but for, high regulations, difficult regulations, and higher taxes. So, it's really hard during a deficit to change a tax structure, but I think if we had some good surplus years, we should definitely take that opportunity to maybe reduce some of the taxes so that we're competitive.
So as voters, we should be leery of anything that is posed as a temporary, especially if it's a tax. And, same thing with clean air. We have all these different things for clean air. And I think we have cleaned the air, sufficiently, but then yet we still have a lot of these surcharges. And I know I do woodworking, and there's certain things that I can't get here in California because of the VOC and all that stuff. So hopefully going forward, there will be, some relief from that. And the last question we had is that should there be a recession, that some expect after the election, no matter who wins, how is the state of California insulated to help mitigate, those economic losses?
Well, I mean, this is my fourth elected position, and 3 of them have been dealing with deficits and trying to get out of the deficit. I think Governor Brown did an excellent job getting us out of the Great Recession by creating those 4 rainy day funds and really maximizing it. And to this governor's credit, Governor Gavin Newsom, he has also been continuing that fiscal practice of putting money into our rainy day funds. And that's what we should be doing, because you just never know. And we always say to, individuals, you should have at least 2 months or 3 months of salary saved up just in case, right? If you get evicted from an apartment, you need first and last month's rent, for example, or something happened to your car, you got into an accident that's not covered. But how many people are actually saving like 3 months of their salary? Very few, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone's using plastic these days. So, I think that is something that I definitely credit Jerry Brown with, and it has actually made this deficit a lot less painful because we do have that extra savings in our bank account, so to speak. So we just need to continue, what goes up, goes down. as we have surpluses, we knew we were going to have deficits, following. It wasn't going to continue forever. And so we just have to, plan better and not overcommit during those years where we have surpluses, and then try to save as much as we can as well.
As state treasurer, what initiatives or programs for minority-owned businesses, and have you faced barriers trying to get, having barriers getting access to capital? So, are there programs that are going to help, minority-owned businesses here in the state of California?
Yeah, I mean, because of Prop 209, right, we can't really say minority. We just say disadvantaged or small or emerging businesses. But yes, we do have small business incentive programs through loan loss reserves and loan loss guarantees that the federal government gave us during COVID. And that really is to incentivize more participating lenders to lend out the money, because in case the borrower does not pay it back, the state of California will be on the hook. And so that's the program that I know Michael Banner is very focused on, to try to do more, leverage more, because a lot of people don't know. Collateral support. People that get a loan, you usually need collateral. And so we have a collateral support program. I also heard that many of these small businesses needed a line of credit and they couldn't get it from the traditional institutions. And so we created a line of credit, working with Lendistry on that. California also, we deposit money into state-owned banks. So if you are a state-owned bank and you could use a little bit of cash and liquidity, the whole notion is we give you money and then you loan it out to the communities. We actually gave away 73 grants to local CDFIs. Those are California, what does this D stand for? Financial institutions, CDFIs. These are like more locally based financial institutions, and we gave them a bunch of money so that they could do more capacity building, create other types of programs, do more lending to the community. And so we are always working on different programs to solve different programs. Right now, a lot of the rural hospitals are having a difficult time because during COVID, they shut their doors. They weren't able to do all of the, the money-making operations like hips and knees. And so they fell behind in their operating costs. So we had to give 17 zero interest loans so we could keep those hospitals up and running. There's never a time when we're not focused and involved in helping certain industries or companies live here in California.
Yep. And our last question, and it's one that you probably can't kick over to your Deputy Treasurer, Kaim, is if you become our next Lieutenant Governor, what would be some of your initial goals in this capacity? I should say when you become, right? If you.
Well, I mean, the Lieutenant Governor is going to be sitting UC, CSU, and community college boards. I am very focused. My parents had focused me on education as the great leveler. And so I look forward to working with those institutions to try to figure out what some of their challenges are. And you never know, maybe bring some best practices over from the Treasurer's office in terms of financing and funding many of their needs as well. And then the Coastal Commission and state lands has a lot to do with, what we're building, where we're building, who can rebuild. So I look forward to, traveling around and looking at these projects to see, what is really happening, especially during global warming. And then chairing the Economic Development Council. That's what I've been doing right now, going around the state, trying to matchmake those investors and companies who want to come to California to match them with jurisdictions, cities, counties that really want that type of business, because nobody wants to start a business and just face roadblock after roadblock after roadblock, right? So I do a lot of that economic development right now. And then this Lieutenant Governor, Eleni Kounalakis, has been delegated the authority to do international affairs. So she does a lot of meet and greets with different delegations, will travel to other countries, And so I have, I've been doing some of that mostly with the Asian region, but I am starting to spread out and go to different parts of the world.
Excellent. And as we wrap up your segment here, give us your sort of 60-second closeout things that you didn't get a chance to mention so far. You'd like to let our community know.
Yeah, definitely keep in touch with us. I have a monthly newsletter. I also have one designated person who is overseeing all constituent outreach. So if you email, text, or call us with a question, Catherine will respond to you and get you the best answer that she can. And then follow us on social media. My treasurer's office posts different programs. I post on my own social media as well. And our website is www.treasure.ca.gov. And if you go to that website, the first button says resources. So click on that. And then there are resources for small businesses. If you're solar, if you are a manufacturer, if you're doing EV batteries, there's all these resources there. We tried to update it so that we can, help people navigate this difficult system. But we have so much money coming from the federal government and the state government. People just don't know how to access it. But for these type of shows. So I just want to thank you, Greg, Crystal, and Robin for having me and giving me this opportunity to talk about only a little portion of our program. We have so much more. So go to our website, treasure.ca.gov.
Crystal?
Thank you so much. We so appreciate you for coming on. So yes, everyone go over. There's a link that just was posted by Rita in the chat. So subscribe. The more information you have, the better informed you are, the better decisions you make. But thank you so much. And we'll be cheering you on for Lieutenant Governor.
Thank you all. I'll turn it over. Kaim can go into some more of our programs.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right. So we now have Kaim Morton, who is the deputy treasurer. And he's a deputy. He even got a badge. He's got a deputy. He's got a deputy badge up there. The deputy badge of the state of California. So Kaim, share a little bit of, give us a little bit about your background. Are you, did you grow up here in this California? Where are you from, and where are you heading?
Sure. So yes, California kid, grew up in the mid-Wilshire area. Then went to college back east for a couple of years, Wesleyan University in Connecticut. Came back, finished undergrad at Cal State LA. So my background has been, about 25 years between government and private sector. Started out mayor of LA, working for Jim Hahn, ran his constituent service department. As you all know, that is customer service, for the mayor. So it was my job to fix it when it came into him. And then spent several years with him working for then City Council President Alex Padilla, being a field deputy for him, Northeast San Fernando Valley. Went up to the state Senate with him, spent about 10 years in legislature, eventually became a chief of staff, and then spent 3 years as an appointee of Governor Brown in his government operations agency. So that's DGS, Department of Technology, CalHR, all of those, back of the house departments. And then spent several years in the private sector between the Sacramento Metro Chamber, running the public policy and economic development, then running my own shop, doing consulting and helping with people contracts. Before then coming in here to work for Treasurer Ma. And so what I do for her is I help her with overseeing 5 or different conduit financing authorities. So everything from funding charter schools, community colleges, to 4-year nonprofit universities, to healthcare, health facilities, to advanced transportation, energy, economic development. In addition to helping, with a few other, commissions that she sits on. So I think the main thing from everything that I kind of do, and particularly in this, setting and briefing, is to look at the items that I have, and I'm going to kind of mention now, is helping to address really the kind of issue of the black tax, and really specifically speaking to recycling, black dollars. Because when you look at the SSBCI funding that we have from the U.S. Treasury State Small Business Credit Initiative funding, we're putting that out now initially in 2 ways, now a third way, but it's all about helping to make sure that lenders are lending into our community and lending, to, to folks like us. So it's either through a loan loss reserve, either through collateral support, and now through a loan participation program. So in all of those ways, we're looking to, it's like, how can we remove the risk element from the lenders by saying, if this borrower defaults on the loan, it's not your bank that's taking the hit. Us as a government will take the hit, because we actually, are placing a bet that, folks like us, won't default, and will, like, get the business up and growing. Secondly, is like that money can also be used for business expansion. So if you're growing your business, you want to get it from like yourself and, one or two other people up into like 10, 12, whatever, the money's there for that. Secondly, then, as we talked about, communities and refurbishing homes and thinking about the kind of like environmental and climate change adaptations we need to do, we have a whole nother division that's under me in that deals with what we call go green financing. So if you're trying to get a cool roof, battery storage, solar, new heat pump, we help you finance that and reduce the cost of your capital, so that if we do things like an interest rate buy down. So prior to the Fed, coming out and looking to, change interest rates, let's say you went out, you needed to get a home loan to do some of this work. If you were, say, going to get like 9%, your bank would then put it, into the program with us, and we would drop it to like 2%. So that way you don't have to cut what you're trying to do to improve your home, your quality of living, and we're making sure that that's happening. Lastly, one of the things that we just did today is the treasurer was talking about her commitment to education, and how that's really like an, equalizer, if not, something to help get folks on the pathway, is that we partner with the Student Aid Commission, because we actually help them put forward the money for Cal grants. So if you look at AB 1400 that was passed just last year by authored by Assemblymember Isaac Bryan and signed into law, that now allows community college students, Black students who are transferring to HBCUs, to use the Cal grant for HBCUs. So that is now operational. So anyone who is transferring, planning to apply for an HBCU, they can get up to $5,000 to apply. And I know all of you, probably like me, it's like you either have a kid who went to an HBCU or someone went to an HBCU. And so part of the avenue that we're at in terms of the treasurer's office is, while the Student Aid Commission handles that and puts it out, we handle the back end for it, which is the actual tax credit. So if you were to donate to this fund, if you were personally, or your business, or, you got any of your members of the Divine Nine, like, myself and other folks who you get to contribute to that, they get up to a 50% tax credit for their donation towards the state. And it's also considered a charitable deduction at the federal level. So right now, until 2027, when this is supposed to expire, we have $489 million sitting in that fund for tax credits. So if you were to contribute, A, you're getting a deduction for yourself. B, you're helping to fund, an opportunity for a kid to go to an, HBCU, and for them and their family to reduce the cost. So again, it's like when you, look at those things in terms of recycling, Black dollars and, helping things, those are the things that the treasurer has asked me to help her with overseeing and making sure that those things, happen.
And you mentioned the HBCU, so we do have a vice president of the United States representing an HBCU, and soon to be president representing. And you also mentioned the Divine Nine. So I see my colleague here representing her AKA.
Every week.
Yes.
So
I
which
had to pick
fraternity?
out this blazer, otherwise I'd be in crimson and cream. So,
My condolences.
I love it.
But yeah, as you also see, it's like in the chat, Rita's adding some of the other contact information for the Go Green program, Go Green Business, our sales tax and use exclusion program, which I also want to mention. So it's like, this is one of the ways, as we talked about, that we're helping to keep businesses within California, because if we're giving them money to start up, to expand, we also want to keep you here. So if you were buying, as you go through an application, equipment to help with your manufacturing in some way, and you apply and you get awarded one of our sales and tax exemptions, we can knock up to about 12% off your cost. So that's 12% of that money that you would have been spending that you can now put back, into your operations.
What's next for you? How long have you been in your position, and do you have your eyeball on something down the road?
Well, as a futurist, I've always got, my eye on things, down the road. But what I am really focused on now, I've been in office with Treasurer Ma for a year, and it's really helping her finish out her term and really get all of this stuff, scaled up and get it to our communities and the communities that we know that need this help. Because when we talk about some of the money coming in outside of some of the state deficit, some of the money that's coming in to the treasurer's office, and in particular the programs that I help her oversee, is federal dollars. So regardless of what's kind of going on here, we have this other money, so in terms of, like, you look at the Inflation Reduction Act, we're about to pull down about $53 million just in terms of the CAFA Go Green program. So when, again, you're thinking about, it's like, how do I make my home more energy efficient, more adaptable to current climate? We've got, that kind of funding. The SSBCI funding is also, like federal dollars. So one of the things that, I, leave out for folks as we can kind of continue to, connect and everything is like, need help. And as the treasurer said, getting this message out, getting it to the folks, who are trusted messengers, to say, it's like, we have these dollars. We want you to use these dollars. We don't want them to go unused or, go away to be, put into something else, because these are things that can specifically help, like our communities, really thrive and, really kind of get, to the point that we've always been, kind of looking at,
Yeah. What role does the treasurer's office play in bond ratings? My understanding is that the state of California is AA. What can be done to return to AAA rating?
Oh, you know what? I'll have to get back to you on that particular one.
Mhm.
On the bond ratings.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Robin, did you have another question?
Yeah, I had another question. I want to, we all of us, majority of us, coach businesses, and they're, going after RFPs and opportunity and what have you, what have you. I just have a thing about, and especially with your background, when you look at the RFP process, that's probably from the 1960s. Is there any kind of way that that's going to become more efficient? Because when you think about a small business or a entrepreneur looking to compete with, even to become a sub, for that process, the timing, the energy that they spend to not even be considered. They don't even know if they've been considered. So can you speak to that a little bit? What efficiencies can we look forward to around the process of procurement?
Definitely feel you. Is that when I did run my own business before coming in to work for the treasurer, this is one of the things that I helped folks with: how to get through the DGS process, how to get the different certifications, what those actually mean, how you can use those. So the first thing, I would say is that when you look at, as a small business owner, anytime you're being asked to fill out another form, another certification, or just even something that you have to do, not to help your business advance, but just to like make sure that your business remains compliant,
Mm-hmm.
It kind of like throws you off a little bit, because you're like, I got in this business to make this widget, so I am doing this. I'm already in charge of marketing and finance and, and everything else. So part of it for me is really encouraging, businesses to seek out folks like yourself and the other coaches. It's like, because one of the things you have to understand as a business owner and as a leader, it's like, while you do need quality control over everything that goes out of your business and under your name, you don't need to do everything, and it is a team sport. It is a team game. So first of all, I would encourage them to, seek out coaches like yourself and people who understand the process, to help them figure out, it's like, hey, how do I do this? Because one of the taglines that I used to, use with folks, hey, look, do you like government processes? Do you like filling out paperwork? No, you don't? Excellent. Hire me. So, but that being said, in terms of like eliminating or kind of reducing some of the paperwork, is like, yes, we partner up with Caltrans or Office of Civil Rights the Controller's Office, Department of General Services, Office of Small Business Advocate, GoBiz. So we're consistently looking at things that we can identify, and at the very least in our chain of control, to say it's like, how can we eliminate some of the paperwork, some of the time, make this easier, for folks so that they're spending less time on the front end doing things and more time like operating their business and using some of the funding or the advantages that our certification, might confer. So, to that end, one of the things that I ask the, various departments from the treasurer that I oversee is like, I want to know, what our flow process looks like. I want to know what our chain looks like. So, because at the end of the day, it's like, even if we are partnering with a particular bank, to give money for them that eventually goes to, the borrower to then pay this, contractor for work or what have you. I'm like, all right, so what does that process look like? How long does that take? And I want to know along the steps of the way, how is the bank advertising our program to the borrower and to the, contractor? How is the contractor, communicating and understanding what the bank wants and communicating with the borrower? I don't, because I have seen through my career in government, too many people who add too many unnecessary steps, to things, that don't serve, anyone.
And now that everything's supposed to be electronic, right? When I worked for US Bank and I was running supplier diversity and I have a vendor who everything is automated, everything is long-handed for the supplier, but the bank runs the system.
Yeah.
If you own Visa, you processing all the Visa payments, what's taking so long to pay the supplier, the little guy, and so again, I hear what you're saying. Again, everybody on here is not everybody, a lot of us are seasoned coaches. We've been behind the curtain. We know how the secret sauce is made. What you just said is exactly what we do. But what I'm asking is, when is underwriting and or the RFP process going to catch up with 2025? Because everything right now is from the maybe 1990s. I'll give them to the 1990s. And I know you don't have an answer. I'm just throwing that out there, that these are, when we talk about efficiencies and we talk about active engagement with all parties, as somebody wrote in the chat box, let's just level the playing field a little bit. Step by step, slowly we turn.
I wish I could give you an exact date.
I know.
Updated, but I definitely hear you on that. And that is part of, the things that, as I said, the treasurers has really asked me to, to help with because of my previous background thinking in government, where, as I mentioned, as an appointee under Governor Brown, I sat at the Government Operations Agency, which is kind of California's equivalent to the GSA. So all the back of the house agencies that make everything else run or tell them what to do, and so, so I try to keep an eye on like, well, what does our form look like? How long does that form take? It's like, is there any way that we can get this faster? So then kind of like, and then at least the biz file process updated well at the Secretary of State. I say that from Mr. Duncan. And it's important that we look at these things because also in my experience in working with the treasurers, like I've worked in local government like she has. So I understand what it's like to stand in front of a community meeting and you've got a bunch of folks who are like, dude, this process isn't working. And you're like, all right, well, let me get to this. But yeah, I want to know, I want to ask those things. I want to find those things out because if I'm going through the flow chart and I see 12 boxes and someone can't explain why we have 3 and 4 on there, I'm like,
thank you.
You
today, your visit today, Ms. Moss and yourself, Mr. Morgan, you guys have dropped a lot of good information that we did not have. We know pieces and parts. And so we invite you guys to come back. We invite you to share with us as things come up. We literally, this is a weekly event. 360 days a year, probably, maybe like 355 days a year. But anytime you have updated information, anytime there are workshops, anytime there, we can get the word out. But equally important, we want you guys to come and speak with us so that, as we look at these elections that are coming up, The more folks can see who's at the table and what they're doing, the more informed we are about who we're electing.
I would love that because there's 17 different boards, commissions, and authorities that rest under the state treasurers. Like I oversee, 5 of them.
Mhm.
So there are other ones that would definitely, would benefit from the conversation, that's happening here. And, as we get ready to go, it's like, I want to make sure it's like I acknowledge one other question I saw in there, from Ms. Tabor, in terms of charter schools. And yes, Charter School Financing Authority for the state of California does report to me. I don't know particularly if we work with Seeds Charter. I'll have to check that. But I've dropped my contact information. I know you have that, Ms. Phillips, to, share with folks, or how to get in touch with Rita. And ask, and she's also dropped the Ask Fiona, information in there. So any of these questions, that come up between now and, and afterwards, definitely, put in there. Because I want to make sure that charter schools are, are getting funded. Want to make sure that they're providing a quality, education and facility, for our kids.
Well, I've seen Ms. Moss speak at the ULI event earlier this year, I think it was, and then you've come on in support of her today. We are delighted to have guests like yourself because the whole mission is to provide information, to impart information, to identify the resources in a timely way that so we can actively engage in this activity and not hear about it after the fact. As Crystal said, we want a seat at the table. We don't want to be on the menu.
Exactly. It's like a few.
And community briefing programs like this could use state funding as well.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that is actually our goal, is because some of the things as business coaches, as Robin said, most of us are. A lot of times, if a business owner is very involved in running his business and working in his business, he can't work outside of that. He doesn't have all the means to do where he can step away and go to meetings like all of us do. So that's the purpose of the community briefing, being able to give them access at convenient times when they can listen to it. We stream live on Facebook, but we're housed on YouTube so they can go over and catch up, and we market out the program. I'm actually the co-director of Recycling Black Dollars, so I'm very involved in making sure our dollars stay within our community, but our dollars are limited. And so there are a lot of things that take up. So when we hear things that are happening in our community, we're usually hearing about it when it's almost too late to do anything about it.
And that is, that is exactly part of the point of, of what I'm doing and working for the treasurer, because we have so many of these dollars flowing through. And as I'm talking with folks on her behalf, it's like, to your point, how do I get, our folks involved earlier on in the, in the chain, to, what's happening. And, lastly, one of the, one of the other things that just dropped in the chat between myself and Rita are some of the different savings programs. Because when you talk about, coming back for future conversations, we have a whole other, division of, personal financial savings, like programs, where we've got money, that is sitting there that was not taken away in the state, budget issues, that's just waiting for families to, to claim it, and helps start college savings funds, like for their kids. So
It's
Awesome,
great.
awesome. Well, we definitely would love to have you back. We even do some breakout sessions, try to do it quarterly where it's a little longer so that we can engage with more individuals in the community and really disperse, because it makes no sense to have programs that no one knows about and are no longer, and you are not, you're not getting people to activate on those programs, right? It makes no sense for that to happen. So, but we do want to thank you so much for joining us. We did go over. We definitely want to be respectful of your time, but please come back. Even if you're not coming back in the deputy position, come back and visit us anyway, because we have some great conversations here that you would probably have some insight on. And that's our goal, is to grow this So it is a source of information for our community so that we can make better decisions and be better informed.
Would love to. Thank you all
All
very
right.
much. All
Thank
right.
you very much. So everyone, I think Emma, you want to jump in here real quick before we come off to tell us about how it went last night at the voting. We're really involved in voting, Mr. Morgan. We know it is vitally important right now. And so Emma here is
Yes, thank you guys. And we had a great meeting last night. And thank you, Greg, for showing up. And first time I met Greg in person, believe it or not. But it was good. We had a great crowd. We talked about measures and propositions. And I have to tell you, there were so many things that I had no clue about the measures and propositions. They're very important. There's quite a few. We went through all of them. So it's going to be a lot on our ballots. And the reason why I didn't know as much about it is because we haven't received the ballots. We didn't get the sample ballots this time. And so we are just out there trying to share information, this process, and working in the blind. But we had Cherie Franklin came and talked about it in detail, each one. A lot of pros and cons, but we got through it and we'll share the information that we came up with. And just for your information, we have a couple of, well, the rest of going forward, we have a little flyer that we put out, but there was a correction on it. We're going to have, I think, the 25th discussion on Project 2025, and that's going to be at our next meeting on the 2nd. We're going to talk about civics. We got great speakers that are going to be there. On the 9th of October, it will be the judges. The 16th, school board and city council candidates, and the 23rd will be the electoral college. We need to talk about that, explain what that means. It's very important. A lot of people don't even understand how we select the president. And then the 30th, we are asking people to bring their ballots, and we will try to work with everyone to get through the ballots and be ready to mail it. We will not receive sample ballots, so you'll have your original. You can bring something just to get all the information that you need. And we'll support anyone and everybody's in different districts. So it's going to be difficult, but we'll try to get as much information to make sure that we're covering, for instance, Inglewood. We didn't have a lot of information to talk about because we didn't know, but I think we're going to have someone from Inglewood to come and talk about who's running in that city. Across the state, we're just trying to get people to vote, and that's our main objective. So please come. It's interesting information, and I think it would be beneficial for you. Roz, I see you on the phone. Do you have anything to add? I don't know if she's there or not.
Oh.
Well, I think if next week, if you guys could drop in the chat box that lineup that you just gave us, Emma.
I will. In fact, I was going to do it today, but I made a change. We had the electoral college for next, we made a change on that from the 2nd to the 23rd. And we have some wonderful speakers that will be there. And I had to change it, and I didn't want to put the flyer in without the correction. I'm doing that as we speak. Okay. And I'll get it out, put it out there, and everyone can see it. And as many people that are on our email list will get it as well.
All righty. Thank you, Emma. I teach a class on Wednesday, and it conflicts.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
But send me the information.
I will send it to yes, and yeah. I'll try to get it. I have most of you guys' emails and make sure you get it to see what's going on. Please come by 6 to 8, and we have an open conversation. It's not like you're just listening. People comment and we interact with each other and talk about some of the things that, especially these measures, oh my God, and propositions. I mean, it's a lot of things that the amendments, but there are a lot of things that we really have to understand and make sure we vote correctly because it's going to affect the future.
And actually, I heard, and I'm going to do a show on it tomorrow, so I'm doing some research. I heard that Project 25 is really targeting, even though it talks about immigrants and kicking them out, it really is target to eliminating Black people's ability to advance in any agencies or anything, really removing the civil rights, removing everything. The DEI and affirmative action was the first part of that, but it appears that the war is on women and Black people. And
It
so,
is.
And Latino and Asian. It's really
yeah, but
cultivation
it is for them
yeah.
as well, but they really, really got an agenda for Black folks. And so,
When you think about it, if they ratcheted away what they so-called gave us, then everybody else gets hit anyway,
right,
right?
they get hit it, but that's initially what the issue is.
Mhm.
And here's the thing. I was listening to when, and I think I sent the link to you, Emma, for When the Black Women. They're
I listened to that whole thing. It was amazing.
It was amazing. So you guys, you can go over to the Win with Black Women on YouTube. Every Sunday afternoon conversation is actually recorded, is on YouTube. But that's one of the things they were talking about is that to remove all rights for Black people. Yes, the immigrants, but here's the deal. They can't deport us anywhere. They can deport immigrants anywhere they want to because they can go back to their
Not
country.
us.
Ain't nowhere for us
They
to
sending the
go.
Haitians to Venezuela. What do you mean?
Right, I know, right. Yeah, I
Right.
guess they could send us to Venezuela. But they don't really have a country to send us to. So then they need to put us back to 1863 when we were actually in slavery. So we need to be very clear on what Project 2025 is all about. So yes, everyone else is under attack, but we are really under attack under that, especially if they remove all civil rights,
Right.
everything. I mean, from police, from the top to the bottom, to no complaints, no suits on police abuse, none of that. It's just removing all of your rights as a human being to be in this country. And then what they don't do on that, then they do that on they're doing it to women. So women are definitely under attack. When I listen to the politicians on a regular basis, it's like, oh my God, how in the heck did men get to the point where they hate women? And how the heck did they think
It's
they got here?
yeah, and it didn't just start with this Project 2025. This has been in the works for a long time, and I think they felt and voted since Trump is on the ticket to be the president, he will do whatever they tell them. So this Project 25 is so important. If he wins, I don't know where we'll go. It's horrible, the stuff that's in there. And that link that Crystal that you sent, the lady that talked about Project 25, she had so much information, but she also had a cheat sheet, and which is available if you go to that and find out, because we can't read all 900 pages. There's stuff in there that I have no idea what's in there. So it's very, very important to us.
I'm putting the link for Win with Black Women there. Also, if you go to their website, you can sign up for the actual conversation. You can have input. They have breakout rooms, but you can see most of the individuals that are talking. Donna Brazil is is a resident. She's there every week, so you're getting the inside. Yes, Joseph.
There is a Unite for America call with Oprah and Kamala Harris tonight at 5,
Yeah.
Right.
sponsored by Win with Black Women, Win with Black Men. So people might want to be on that one as well. That's
Yeah,
live
so that
streamed. I think it's going to be on YouTube.
Yeah, I think Oprah. I think I saw something this morning on
Yeah.
Oprah. I mean not on Oprah, but I saw her on
She's going to be
Facebook.
on it.
So so jump on over there. Also, guys, Friday on the 20th in the morning is the swearing in of Marquise Harris Dawson for the LA City Council President. I had the opportunity the other day to go to the book reading with Supreme Justice
Kajanja.
yeah,
Katanji.
it was
Ketanji.
awesome. It was awesome. It was awesome
At the E-Bell, right?
at the E-Bell. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
amazing. Yeah, she's just wonderful with Angela Bassett. So that was incredible. So stay tuned for all that, guys, because it's just so much information out there. But right now, Women are killing it, along with the men, but the women are killing it, and they're doing their thing, and they ain't playing because their children are involved, right? So we want to thank you all for being here. We've gone definitely over today, but I think it was very informative. Come back next week.
Our guest next week is Jeff Prang, who is the Los Angeles County Assessor, and his office is the one that assesses the property values in Los Angeles County. So he will be our guest next Thursday, the 26th of September.
Right. And then we have Stop the Hate the following week. And then we're going to do a follow-up to the State of the Union of a Black LA. So that's being hosted by the Los Angeles Urban League. So you want to go to their website so you can get all the details for that. And so with that, guys, we will see you next week. Share. This will be up on our YouTube channel. Go over to our YouTube channel. All our show programming over there. So go back, check it out, share it with everyone. This is information that we need to share. We need to be informed. We just can't keep sitting around thinking that all life is all hunky dunky dory and you look up and you're in a concentration camp. That's what will happen if we keep leaving our heads in the sand. So share it with your friends and family. Become a nuisance like me. Everybody think I'm just a know-it-all in my peer structure, but at least they know that when they come to get them, they'll know when to run. So there you go. See you guys all next week. Happy birthday, Greg.
Happy birthday, Greg.
Enjoy, Greg, your day.
Happy birthday.
Your born day. So make the most of it. Are you enjoying?
There you go.
We need celebrating all month.
Greg always comes up with the sounds. Okay.
I know it.
People are like, who's gonna do it when it's his birthday?
There you go. Do your birthday song, Greg.
What's the new one now? Make a wish, blow out the candle.
Shine a light on it.